My name is Greg Shove. As Maxwell said, I'm all in on AI, and just don't call me an AI influencer, but I'm the CEO of Section. I'm the founder of Machine & Partners, an AI development lab. I'm about to launch a podcast and newsletter called AI Truth Serum, and I'm lecturing this weekend at Berkeley Haas School of Business about AI. A little bit about Section. Short commercial. We're an AI enablement and transformation company. We help other firms, other companies deploy AI successfully and get ROI. How do we do that? We help you launch. We help you benchmark your workforce in terms of their AI maturity, and we forward deploy an AI transformation consultant into our largest clients to be an extension of your AI team. We coach every employee in a personalized, magical way with a product called Prof AI. And if you haven't seen Prof AI, go to prof.ai. It's free to consumers. Teams and companies have to pay. And then finally, Prof AI will provide the analytics and insights, the dashboard, to tell you what's working and what's not, who's using AI proficiently and who's not. So today, our goal is to cut through all the hype, all the predictions, all the bullshit about AI and really get to this question of where's the ROI, why is there an ROI gap, and how do we close that gap? That's our goal today. All right, listen, I just got back from 4 days in British Columbia. I was a couple hours north of Vancouver. I was with two of my oldest, closest friends from when I grew up in Toronto and my early career, Ward Sellers and Mike Tyndall. I've known them both for close to 40 years. We were looking for grizzlies. And the first 3 days of looking for grizzly bears in northern British Columbia reminded me of looking for AI ROI. It was a lot of hard work and/or cold and miserable work, sitting on a boat, drifting down a river, looking at the bank, hoping to find a grizzly, sitting in a viewing platform in the cold and rain, scanning the valley looking for a bear or two, or hiking in the middle of nowhere trying to bump into a bear. And the first 3 days, there were not many bears. We caught the glimpse of the back ass of a bear. That feels like AI ROI today. And on the fourth day, it was like bear party. I think this is really what's going on with AI ROI. And again, we hope today to help you close this gap. What's going on today? CEOs have FOMO. They see revenue per employee numbers that are being posted at companies like Palantir or Google, historically the strongest revenue per employee, large public company. And they want in on that action. They see this promise of AI delivering high revenue per employee. They also want more strategic value. CEOs talk a lot about efficiency. They also talk, especially to investors, a lot about growth and how to leverage new technologies for growth. At the same time, quite frankly, and sometimes I find it rather disgusting, they can't stop bragging about layoffs. If you're a CEO, don't do this. If you're going to use technology to become more efficient, if you're going to use AI to become more efficient, sure, I get it. That is one way to pay for AI and pay for the cost of all this. But don't brag about it. Don't brag about layoffs. Sure, you can brag about being more efficient. By the way, I'm in New York. If you hear sirens, don't worry about it. We're right downtown at Horizon Media. It's where we're live streaming from today. So, sure, we get it. AI can make us more efficient. Don't brag about it. CFOs are on the fence still, as we would expect them to be. They haven't yet seen this ROI, and we just talked about it, right? We just answered the poll, and most of us are having a hard time measuring it, so you would expect CFOs to be skeptical. Obviously, the tech companies are talking about all kinds of productivity gains. I think they're mostly talking their own book in terms of, they're probably struggling like we are to measure these gains. We know the promise. Sam Altman again this week talking about AI being a fundamental driver of the economy, but someone's going to have to pay for this. It's not consumers, it's going to be companies, it's going to be enterprise, our employers, and again, we're not yet seeing the gains. Companies are struggling to capture these gains. This is what it looks like today in terms of ROI. A lot of enterprise investment in AI so far. I'm talking about companies investing in their AI efforts. I'm not talking about data centers. I'm talking about AI products and services that companies have been spending on, and not much reported ROI, about 14%. This is what has to happen. We have to flip this and kind of get a 10x ROI. It feels like to me by 2030, plus or minus by a year or two. But if we're not seeing this kind of ROI, if companies aren't seeing this kind of ROI, I don't think they're going to pay much for it. And that's going to be a problem for all the AI companies, obviously. They need revenue and they need it to turn on fast. Sure, they've seen historic revenue growth. Companies like OpenAI and Anthropic and Cursor and these AI applications, they are seeing very, very fast growth. But they need to see a lot of revenue within the next 5 years, and that's going to come from companies paying for the AI. And so those companies are going to have to see ROI. We know what's going to eventually happen. It happened in SaaS, it's going to happen in AI. Eventually the prices will go up. At some point, once we're hooked on AI as consumers, and certainly once our companies are jacked up on AI, the prices we would imagine will start to go up as these AI companies have to recoup these investments. And as I said, that's what happened in software. So how do we get this ROI? I think about it simply, there's two paths to ROI, one or both, either serially or in parallel, meaning at the same time. One is cut. McKinsey might say efficiency. Get more efficient. The other is create or growth. Those are the two, in my opinion, operating modes for AI that will lead us to ROI. Let's talk about cut a little bit more, because everybody right away thinks about cutting jobs. It's not necessarily about cutting jobs, obviously. I think it starts with cutting tasks, cutting workflows, cutting vendors and contractors, cutting contracts with SaaS solutions that you don't need anymore because you can replace that with AI-assisted workflows. Maybe cutting data sources that you no longer need, or consolidating data sources, or consolidating vendors. I think this is the potential, obviously, of AI, and we can get to these gains relatively quickly. Of course, create is, for all of us, more exciting. It's about creating new products, creating new services, creating new revenue streams, entering new markets, competing in places where you couldn't compete before, ultimately creating new jobs. My point of view on this is, as leaders, we all need to move through the first phase as fast as possible. This cut phase, this efficiency phase, is for most companies a necessary step in terms of finding ROI. We get it. Move through it quickly, even for yourself. Make yourself more efficient, make your team more efficient, make your organization more efficient. The faster we move through the cut phase, the faster we'll lower anxiety, the faster we'll clear some of the fog and uncertainty of AI, and frankly, get to the fun stuff. And the fun stuff is this next phase. And again, you can do this in parallel. You could make that cut phase very short. In a small organization, you could do this in months. And again, then get to the next phase, which is how do you create new products and services? How do you improve your current products and services to generate more revenue, keep customers more happy, ultimately make your organization more valuable? That's what has to happen. How do we do this? How do you deliver on the promise of AI efficiency? This is what it should like, and there are very few organizations, but there are a few. There are some organizations who are pulling this off. High levels of daily active or weekly users of AI tools. High levels meaning over 50% at least, and in some cases getting to 80% active daily usage across the knowledge workforce in the organization using an LLM like ChatGPT for Enterprise. Getting significant productivity gains, maybe as much as a day a week. You can do the math. This will be very significant realized AI savings. And from that, you can decide what to do with those savings. Grow with less headcount, or obviously reduce headcount, or reduce other expenses, vendors and contractors and so on. This is what the math can look like, and we're seeing some evidence of this, but we're still early and it's not easy. This is what's likely going on. This is what we see at Section. This is what I see when I talk to clients and prospects, or certainly prospects, not our clients. Our clients are doing much better than this. This is what I see when I talk to prospects. A small number of daily active users, typically 5 to 10%. That's not surprising. That's typically the number of early adopters in any organization, whether that be a school or a government agency, small company, a large company. We've all got early adopters. We've all got people with growth mindset, curious, who want to kind of push it. And they're the only active users in a lot of larger organizations. They are getting some productivity gain, but really they're not yet capturing these realized savings. And what that means is you're throwing money away when you're buying an enterprise LLM license, or like Microsoft Copilot Pro, which you're paying $20 to $30 a month for. You're basically throwing that money away because you've got beginner AI users. Most users report very superficial use cases. They have not been trained properly. They've not been supported to find their use cases, find their sort of real valuable ways to deploy AI. They're summarizing emails, summarizing report. Sure, maybe saving a few minutes here and there. That's not going to generate the kind of productivity gains that we all hope to generate. Or we see employees hoarding the value for themselves. They think about this as a zero-sum game, and if they've got this edge, they don't want to help others get the same edge because they view this as a competitive environment, which it is certainly in some companies. Or you've got, and I think this is more common than we realize, you've got employees getting the gain, and the gain yet is not passing back to the employer. So if you're a CFO and CEO listening in right now, what I can tell you is those employees who are active with AI, who have trained themselves and found their own kind of productivity gains and sort of hacks with AI, they're getting those gains. They may not yet be accruing to the employer. I think that's okay, and that's, again, to be expected in this moment when we're early and those early adopter employees are figuring out how to use AI. Maybe the manager doesn't realize it yet, and the workflows and the workloads have not yet been adjusted. And some of those employees are going to take that time and go walk the dog or take a yoga class or something like that. You know, again, I think that will change over time, or it's not. You're not going to get there by throwing spaghetti at the wall. And I give J&J credit for sort of coming out and talking about how their first efforts were really not successful. They just tried to do too much. They spread themselves too thin across the organization in terms of their AI pilots, over 900. And if you do that, again, throw a lot of stuff at the wall, likely most of it won't stick. Finding growth, so besides efficiency, finding growth is harder. It's got more upside. We know that. Creating new revenue, entering new markets, creating new products and services definitely has more upside, has more sustainable enterprise value or potential of it. But it is riskier. It does take longer, and it's not for the faint of heart. And we see some of those, the early hype is not yet being realized. Certainly with larger organizations that have kind of slapped AI onto existing products. Again, I think in time that will change, either because startups show the way or because the incumbents figure it out and focus less on performative AI in the press release and more on actually improving their product or service with AI and then generating revenue from that improvement because customers will actually see the value. So we're not there yet. I expect this to happen. It will take longer. And by the way, none of this is going to happen, meaning efficiency or growth in our businesses if AI stalls. And that is what's happening. Leaders across corporate America and across global corporate, the global corporate world have, in my opinion, made a serious mistake. And this is a crisis. And the mistake is they think AI is software like any other enterprise software, like an ERP or a CRM, and they buy it, it's always easy to buy software, and they deploy it like other AI or other software deployments. They do a training month, they do a few all-hands meetings, they turn on some access to some online training and expect this just to kind of race to 50, 60, 70% adoption and active usage. This is not software. This is not enterprise software. It doesn't behave like software. It's co-intelligence that is magical and clownish in its behavior, meaning it makes mistakes and also does incredible things at the same time. It takes a lot of change management. It takes a lot of support. It takes effort to lower the anxiety that is in the workforce. It takes effort to show people how to use this co-intelligence in their own job and in their teams' projects and workflows. This is not enterprise software, guys. If you buy it and deploy it like you bought and deployed a CRM and an ERP, I think you're going to be very disappointed. This is what's happening. This is why enterprise adoption is flatlining. The good news, though, is that we can close this gap because there's a playbook. This is not rocket science. It is hard work, but it's not rocket science. What we need to do is build this pyramid. This will, for small organizations, take a year. For larger organizations, this will take 2 to 3 years, depending on the size of the organization. But if you're managing a team of under 100, a company or a team of under 100, I think you can get this done in a year, maybe 2 at most. If you're talking about thousands of people, certainly this will take longer. You lay the foundation of your AI ROI with workforce augmentation. You buy, deploy, and support, meaning with coaching and change management, the whole organization, everyone in the knowledge workforce to be able to use high quality AI, best of breed AI. That means ChatGPT for Enterprise, Copilot Pro, Google Gemini. You can pick your favorite AI. I think they're all similar in capabilities at this point. Workforce augmentation, lay that foundation. If you do that, they will then, your employees, reveal to you the opportunities for workflow automation. This is the promise of agents, obviously, in terms of finding workflows, potentially hundreds of them in larger organizations, finding hundreds of workflows that can be semi-automated or fully automated with AI. Likely today, more semi, meaning human in the loop, workflows assisted or supported by AI. And then finally, you'll find opportunities, probably not a high number, there'll be a small number of high return, higher risk, but higher value opportunities, and really what I consider business process automation with AI, sort of really reinvent a significant business process inside your organization. You'll likely, again, adopt more risk, but potentially see more gain. This is the playbook, guys. We can do this. If we do this, I think what we'll be able to create is something what I call a super company. This is the era of super companies. The next 10 years, most of them today are startups, meaning OpenAI, Anthropic, Cursor. These are AI native companies building AI products or services. They are growing quickly. The whole workforce is using AI every day to run the business, create the products and services. They have super leaders who know how to manage humans and AI, and they have super employees. These are employees that know how to use AI every day in their own workflows. These are super companies. I think all of us can be a super company. For some of us, it will take longer. Again, larger organizations in more regulated environments. For some of us, we can get there quickly. I believe this is what we should be aiming to, though, how to be a super company. We're seeing this not just in AI, we're seeing this in other industries, including, for example, the company Moderna, and Bryce Chalamal, the head of AI for Moderna, will join us later today. His boss, Tracy Franklin, was quoted in this Wall Street Journal article just the past couple of days about how that organization is changing as they merge high levels of AI and AI agents with the human workforce. Today is your AI boot camp. We've assembled an amazing group of instructors. We have an agenda. Everybody has this, right? Maxwell, like if people need to leave and come back, like we've sent them an email with the timing of everything?
Absolutely, and not just one email, folks.
All right, okay, so if you can't stay with us all day, I have nowhere to go. I can't go anywhere. I'm here for the day. But if you need to go do something else, come back. Throughout the day, some amazing instructors here to help us all figure out AI, measure AI, and create value, enduring value with AI, not just press releases. At the end of the day, some of our best instructors, Bryce, Michael, and Bob Lord at Horizon Media. So join us for as much as you can. Think about the questions that are on your mind. Here's a list that I would suggest you can start with. How do I measure? What's the right hurdle rate? Are you looking for 5x on your AI investments, 10x? What's your CFO expecting? How many months before you kill a pilot or greenlight a pilot? Like how patient should you be to see this ROI? Can you get AI, ROI from off-the-shelf AI? I know that answer. For me, that's yes. And my organization, that's a resounding yes. But if that's on your mind, let's use today to get that answer. Should you think about AI deep in one function in terms of finding ROI? Should you think about it as horizontal across the organization, or both? Again, good question. Use today to get the answer to that, and so on. The podium awaits us. It's possible. We can build super companies if we can follow the playbook and understand this is not software, this is co-intelligence that we're deploying to our workforces. I think the podium awaits us. It won't be easy. Some of you will not make it to the podium, or you'll get there in the end, but maybe not on the podium. Use this resource, take notes in this doc. We're in this together. We're ready to go.